नमस्कार. सडेतोड नायक कार्यावळीत आज आम्ही एक महत्त्वाचा विषय घेतला, तो असा गोयची मुक्ती. गोयच्या मुक्ती लढ्या संदर्भात आम्ही जेन्ना जेन्ना चर्चा करतात इतल्या वर्सां उपरांत लेगीत प्रश्न येता तो राष्ट्रीय फुडाऱ्यांचो रोल कितें, तांची भुमिका ह्या लढ्यात कितें आशिल्ली. आनी अशे वेळार जेन्ना आयज जेन्ना आमी फाटल्यान उडून पळयतात तेन्ना आमकां वेगळें चित्र दिसता काय कितें. कारण सतत सत्ताधारी पक्ष आनी सत्ताधारी पक्षाचे फुडारी आमच्या कांय राष्ट्रीय लिडरांचेर सतत तांचेर तोकासामां दीत असतात. तांकां वायट नजरेन पळोवन तांकां वायट नजरेन पितारपाचो प्रयत्न करतात. हाजे फाटल्यान तांचो हेतू कितेंय आसूं, पण हिस्ट्री ही हिस्ट्री आसता. इतिहास हो खरो इतिहासच आसता आनी तो इतिहास खरें योग्य पार्श्वभुमीचेर तपासपाची गरज आसता. आनी ह्याच संदर्भात आमी आज चर्चा करतात. आनी आमचे बरोबर आसात डॉक्टर सुशीला मेंडीस. डॉक्टर सुशीला मेंडीस ह्यो इतिहासाच्यो एक प्राध्यापिका आसाच, त्या भायर इतिहास बरे तरेन गोंयचे संदर्भात शिकपाचे नदरेन तांचें खूब योगदान आसा. तांची ह्या संदर्भातली पुस्तकांय आसात. तर सुशीला बाय, म्हाका तुजे कडल्यान पयलो प्रश्न विचारपाचो. सदांच आमचे राजकीय लिडर सतत तोकासामां दितात, गोंयाक मुक्ती जावपाक 14 वर्सां कळाव जालो. तर हें कितें खरें सत्य हातून आसा?
पयलीं सद्याक आमी मांडपा जाय की नॅशनल लिडर जे आसा न्ही, प्रायम मिनिस्टर जावं डिफेन्स मिनिस्टर जावं, तेमकां फक्त गोंयचेंच पळोवन वचूना, आख्खे इंडियेचें आनी आख्खे वर्ल्डाचेंय बी. कित्याक पंडीत नेहरू आपणाक एक पीस मेसाया असो ऑफ द वर्ल्ड,
सामको एक शांतीदूत म्हणून जगाचो पळयतालो.
पंचशील सांगतालो, नॉन अलायनमेंट उलयतालो. सो असलो मनीस जो सांगता की एक कंट्री शूड नॉट कमीट मिलिटरी अग्रेशन ऑन अनदर कंट्री, तेका तोंड कशें आसतलें मिलिटरी धाडपाक गोंयांक. हीज इमेज वॉज इम्पॉर्टंट.
एक्झॅक्टली.
हय. आनीक तेन्ना लोकसभा इलेक्शन आसता, राज्यसभा इलेक्शन आसता, द होल गव्हर्नन्स इज गोईंग ऑन. सो पंडीत नेहरू जेन्ना प्रायम मिनिस्टर ऑफ अ फ्री नेशन जालो इन 47, तेन्नाच्यान on 15th August he had said that there are some parts of India which are not yet free. We are today free, but Pondicherry is not free, Goa is not free. So they don't enjoy the same freedom as us. Yes. And then he was making speeches in parliament, he was addressing rallies. Yes. But the Goan freedom fighters were also getting upset. केन्ना तूं ऑपरेशन.
म्हाका सुशीलाबाई एक हातूंत भितर एक प्रश्न येतात. भारतीय स्वातंत्र्याचो लढो पळय जालो तातूंत सर्वसामान्य लोकांनी वांटेकार जाले. गांधी, नेहरू किंवा बाकीचे लोक आसूं, तांणी लोकांक काम करपाक लढपाक पळय लढ्याचो एक म्हत्वाचो घटक आसता त्याग करप आनी बलिदान दिवप. नेहरू गांधी सदांच म्हणटाले की गोंयच्या लोकांनी फुडाकार घेवपाक, आमी मिलिटरी धाडपाक 15 मिनटां पुरो.
गोवा विमोचन सहायक समिती आशिल्ली न्ही, नाना साहेब गोरे, शिरुबाऊ लिमये, रामबाऊ तुपे आनीक हे सगळे, कर्नाल सिंग मेलो तो. सो तेमी सत्याग्रह केली न्ही. दे केम टू गोवा 54, 55, 56 आनीक दे बिकेम शहीद. सो दे केम young boys, 25 years old, 26 years old, and then we talk about Goans, non-Goans. We must accept the fact that there were many non-Goans who died for Goa's liberation. It's not one Karnal Singh. So that was the Satyagraha movement. But Pandit Nehru, when he realized that people are being killed, he put and the Portuguese put a ban on outsiders entering Goa. He had the economic blockade, which again had its own repercussions of smuggling, etc. So it was troubled times. They were difficult times. Today we look at our analysis from the point of view of our political ideology. And if Nehru is Congress, he remains Congress. But when Goa was liberated, or when India was liberated, it was beyond ideology.
तू म्हणटा सुशीलाबाई की नेहरून खरेंच ताजो एक रोल आशिल्लो गोंय मुक्ती करपाक.
गोंय मुक्ती करपाक तो वावुरलो. चड वावुरपा जाय आशिल्लो अशी मागणी आशिल्ली फ्रीडम फायटराची. आनीक लेख आसा गोवन ट्रिब्युनाचेर हिरोइज्मो नेरुइस्मो आनी तूं सालाजारा भाशेन आनी तूं केन्ना आमकां सुटका दितलो आनी कितलीं वर्सां आमी रावप आनीक लेख आसा बरयल्ले that the freedom fighters were fed up. That is true. But when Nehru wants the non-aligned movement, Panchashil, he has to take care of NATO, CENTO, CITO, all these world bodies. He has to step very, with caution. Now, Nehru would be very happy if Salazar would go peacefully, like French did in Pondicherry, in Chandranagore, in Mahe. French went with table talks, but Salazar was not agreeable to table talks because France itself was a democracy. This was a fascist rule. And Salazar, Goya, Portugalache part, it is a overseas province. It is a part of us, it is a part of our culture, part of our history, it is more than 450 years. So, आपणाची thesis, बरयतालो तो खूब, speeches दिना आशिल्लो, पूण he was an economics professor of Coimbra, so there are a lot of Sydney documents where his views on Goa are very clearly expressed. He was not the type to give up Goa with table discussions. That Pandit Nehru realized by 61.
And what is the groundwork done by Goan freedom fighters?
Goan freedom fighters, right from Ram Manohar Lohia, who came to Goa in 46, that was when the spark was lit. You say Thingi, so 46 sank jenna 400 years lok kennai rastyar yeuna and 46 sank lok rastyar aile. Portuguese said it is movement of the roads, movimento de rua. They dismissed it. But that was the time when more and more people started filling the prison. T.B. Kunya, Lakshmikant Bembre, so many. You can't name Gaitonde, Punlik. So all these people, they were filling prisons and the movement got a fillip. In 46. Then you have the satyagrahas where people started dying. So the freedom fighters, of course, never gave up. They had political conventions, they went in delegations to meet Nehru. They had an Afro-Asian convention in Delhi where the African leaders said that Nehru should show the way, then we will be liberated. So pressure was there on Nehru to show the way because what was the Portuguese army compared to India's army? It was not a match.
Exactly. So, म्हाका सांग सुशीलाबाई, मागीर तशें जाल्यार ऑपरेशन विजय जावपाक हें कितें जालें, कारणां कितें ठरलीं?
Operation Vijay in 61 December, see in the month of March, and many years before that also, but in the month of March there was a Goan political convention in Delhi and people from Goa went who represented the clubs, the seafarers, the journalists. They went to meet Nehru to have a discussion that what is going to be Goa's future. People started writing on newspapers, when will we get our freedom, and at the same time there were people in Goa who, they talk about primer, segundo and tercer current, 3 currents, and the third current wanted autonomy for Goa, plebiscite in Goa, neither under Nehru nor under Salazar, that we are separate and therefore we should decide our future. There was a small circle in Margaon called Circulo de Margaon, Brut da Costa and all these people, but they were a minority. In fact, when I did my research in the old archives in Portugal, there was a file, Liberation of Goa. When I opened it, I realized it was about liberating Goa from Nehru. So it was about in Angola, in Mozambique, all the Portuguese colonies, protest movements that Nehru has usurped Goa, and there was a lot of pressure on Nehru from NATO, from all the, from England. Kennedy in fact sent a telegram on 15 December not to invade. So there was a lot of pressure. And Nehru was mocked upon. that you are talking one thing and doing one more thing.
म्हाका सांग ऑपरेशन विजय मागीर जालें कशें?
Operation Vijay, in the African, you see, there comes a point in time when certain action has to take place, because certain political things happen before that. The Afro-Asian countries came in the month of October, and they impressed upon Nehru. Nehru was actually...
No, but ते जालेंच. हांव म्हणटा तें अशें की 18 डिसेंबराक मिलिटरी भितर येवपाक एग्जॅक्ट कारण कितें जालें? काय अशें फायरिंग जालें बोटीचेर?
There were 2-3 incidents. Like, see, the fishermen near Anjadi Island, the Portuguese ships shot a fisherman down. That was true. And the fishermen were agitated. He was a simple fisherman. So Pandit Nehru, within 24 hours, and Krishna Menon decided to send the Indian vessel to protect the fishermen.
याच काळार British, then Pakistani ships were there, and there was some Lashkari Kawayatis
in the Arabian Sea. There were naval
200
exercises
nautical miles from Goa.
There were naval exercises where there were ships of UK, of Pakistan conducting naval exercises. So Krishna Menon, the defense minister, he realized that the firing is done between certain dates, 20th November to 28th November, when the CENTO naval exercises are going on. So there was provocation. A fisherman was killed. A sentry of one of the trading merchant ships, he was also shot. He, I think, lost his eyesight. So there was provocation. And it was Krishna Menon who realized, and Handu, who was Nehru depended on him for advice. He was an advisor. He was an advisor even after liberation for the Goa governors. So they had a discussion, even reaching midnight, that if we get affected with the provocation, and if we attack now, we will get only Anjadi Island. It is better to delay, because we don't know that if we attack, the CENTO naval ships will support Salazar, because Portugal was a part of that. So even Salazar didn't know whether they would support. So he may have also been trying his luck fishing, that if we provoke and India attacks Anjadiv, we can afford to lose Anjadiv, but we will know whether the CENTO powers are on our side or not. So it was a good decision at that point of time not to attack at between 20th and 28th, not to get provoked, but to delay and to take the whole of Goa, including Anjadiv. Anjadiv was a small island, 2 kilometers by 1.
कृष्णा मेननाचें नांव तुवें 2-3 वेळा घेतलें, आनी हांवूय बी ल्हानपणांत म्हज्या स्वातंत्र्य सैनिका कडेन आयकतालो कृष्णा मेनन, जें नांव हालीं मातशें पेल्यान पडना, कोण डिस्कस करना, पूण ताजो रोल आसा न्ही कृष्णा मेनन.
कृष्णा मेनननी, इट इज ट्रू that there was no going back because of Krishna Menon. Possibly with Pandit Nehru as a peacemaker, he may have, as he gave 14 years, maybe he would have given another 1 month. But see, the Indian army was stationed on the borders of Goa. The Indian railways were used to bring the army and station them. The decision was taken to have Operation Vijay. So when the whole Indian army is surrounding in Belgaum, in Karwar, in the areas around Goa, it was just waiting for a signal to come in. There were paratroopers ready. It was Air Force, Navy, Army, everything.
Yeah, military भितर सरता. हांवें पुंडलीक गायतोंडेचें एक पुस्तक वाचलें, तातूंत तो म्हणटा की आपल्याकय खबर नाशिल्लें.
रायट.
सो इट वॉज तो, पूण आपल्याक एक इन्फॉर्मेशन आयलें की मोठ्या प्रमाणाचेर मिलिटरी गोंयचे बॉर्डरीचेर एकठांय येता. सो हें जगाक कळिल्लें.
सी, द वर्ल्ड, when military action takes place, it is always done without public knowledge. It is always done. But the Portuguese also were fearing. Salazar also was fearing, because they would come one day, and Portugal, there are newspapers where people are praying in churches, you know, that
Save
the
Goa.
Indian save Goa,
Save Goa.
save Goa from Indians,
From Nehru.
from Nehru, from the Indian army,
Yeah.
you know. And see, the paratroopers were waiting for signal because the bridges were bombed. So that the communication is broken in Kepe, in Amona, the bridges, about 7 bridges.
Yes.
And so the decision was to take action on 15th.
Yes.
Krishna Menon took it by consulting Nehru because he was a prime minister.
Yes.
The cabinet decision was taken. So it is not that Krishna Menon on his own could have decided such a big operation.
Yes.
But from 15th to 18th, by 18th, Vassallo Silva signed the surrender order because already 22 Portuguese men had died.
Yes.
And they didn't want to lose any more.
Yeah.
So 2 Indians also died. It's not that Operation Vijay was bloodless.
Yes, yes.
They went to release the freedom fighters in Agwad prison.
Yeah.
There was a white flag. So these Indian, they jumped
They
out and they were shot.
म्हाका एक सांग सुशीला बाई, आमी कृष्णा मेननाचेर येतातच, पूण पुर्तुगालाक सुद्दां आवडलें ना वासाल द सिल्व सायन्ड.
True, because Vassallo Silva had his own ideology.
Yes.
It was not Salazarist ideology.
Exactly.
Yes, so
he was an engineer by profession.
Yes.
And he was a very right-thinking person.
He was more of a liberal.
Liberal
and
because it has been written, तो जेन्ना पुर्तुगालाक गेलो, तो जेन्ना बोटींतल्यान देंवलो खंय ताजेर लोकांनी फातर मारले.
True. True, because see, each country has its own jingoism and nationalism. Now you are looking at it from the point of Goans and Indians, but the Portuguese, after having lived here for 450 more than, why will they let go?
As their own territory.
They were treating it as their culture.
Sarke.
That we are Christians and Goans are Christians, and
majority of the population was also supporting them.
Was supporting them. There was a group supporting them also. Correct. So freedom fighters were not supporting them.
Yes.
But I know a lot of my friends who were doctors, their grandfathers, they said Portuguese rule was good.
Yes.
You know, and
आतांय म्हणपी लोक आसात.
There are people who say that, and in history we don't take a side. We understand and analyze each one's point of view, and we are not biased towards them.
So म्हाका सांग, कृष्णा मेनन हाजो रोल एक्झॅक्टली मागीर कितें जालो?
Krishna Menon, as a defense minister, had a very powerful role because he decided that this had to happen. So he took the prime minister's permission, took the cabinet permission, stationed the Indian army in the, decided who's the brigadier of the army, of the navy, who's going to attack from which side. You know, the Air Force, everything was kept ready. But it was a kind of a unmatched Operation Vijay was unmatched because Vassallo Silva was a very intelligent man. He decided when all is lost, there's no point in fighting.
Exactly.
They had one ship called INS Albuquerque and they had nothing more than that. So they had Portuguese soldiers who wanted to go back home. And so it was a lost case, and therefore within 24 hours, 17th afternoon to
Nehru criticism जालेंच, पण Krishna Menon was highly criticized all over the world.
Both Krishna Menon and Nehru were totally criticized because each one
Nobody
said,
like why world took this view.
See, the world took this view because there were many colonies. Goa was just one colony. There were Portuguese colonies in Angola, in Mozambique, in Timor, in Macau, which were not yet liberated. And it is also important that when any fight takes place in Europe, there are always two sides, whether World War I, World War II, and Portugal is always on the side of the Allies. So
ताणे आपले भशेन चिंतले, ताणे इंडियाचे चिंतले ना.
You are talking about?
आता हे सगळे वर्ल्ड व्यू पळय तो तयार जालो, including the press was criticizing Nehru.
Yes, because Krishna Menon said, he said that we are not attacking Portugal, we are attacking colonialism. And we feel that in this world, there is no place for colonialism to exist. So he was criticized by the world press that he's taking that view of attacking not Salazar, but colonialism has no place in the existing society. And Pandit Nehru, of course, had to face criticism because he was a peace lover, and it worked with France. It worked. He thought it would work with Salazar, and that's when he realized he was wrong. So when he was giving speeches in Bombay and all, it was saying that we will take action at the right time, when the time comes. But by November, by October, he said we are left with no option.
म्हाका एक सांग, सालाजार अशें म्हणटात की आतांचे निमाणे फेजीन सिनायल जाल्लो ना जाल्यार ताका खबर आशिल्लें आपल्याला इट इज ए लॉस्ट वॉर, ताका पयलींच कळिल्लें. थंय गोंया इंडियन मिलिटरी मुखार आपूण तिकपाक शकना हें ताका पयलींच कळिल्लें, आपल्याला तें फोर्स ना कळिल्लें. सो तो इतलो आडमुठो कित्याक रावलो?
See, Salazar by 61, the state was in control of Marcelo Caetano. It was always hidden, no? In history, the leader state of mind and physical is always hidden. That even if some leader becomes mad, it is not portrayed to the media. So Salazar was definitely old. He was not in a position perhaps at that point of time to take decisions, but he was a fascist. So being a fascist, you don't expect a fascist to give up. If he gave up Goa, he would have to give up all the other colonies. So that was also a point to consider.
Exactly.
And even, you know, Krishna Menon, see, history has a very strange way of functioning. Krishna Menon was fighting elections in Bombay. In Bombay city, where there were large number of Goans, and Acharya Kripalani came to fight Krishna Menon in Bombay. And in newspapers of that time, you see Acharya Kripalani with hundreds of people addressing, and you wonder why Acharya Kripalani is addressed. He was against Krishna Menon, so he was the second tenure in Bombay. He was fighting elections, you know. So the Goans were fed up, and therefore maybe he sent the Goan army to get re-elected in Bombay.
So everything politics asas.
Yeah, you take Telangana and Hyderabad. That is a very genuine separation. Everybody wanted it. Goa's liberation also, everybody wanted it. Everybody fought for it. But there are some political nuances.
So we have to study that.
No, Hyderabad and Telangana next year was Lok Sabha elections. So maybe if Loya was close to Nehru, I mean, they called each other names in parliament. So history of Goa may have been different.
Exactly. सुशीलाबाई, सदांच एक चर्चा चलतात की तुवें म्हणलें पळय की गोंयान भितर असो एक गट आशिल्लो ताका नेहरू पासूनय बी लिबरेशन जाय आशिल्लें. सो एक अशे तरेन म्हणटात की पुरुषोत्तम काकोडकर इन द लास्ट फेज वेंट टू पोर्तुगाल टू मीट सालाजार, एक प्रस्ताव घेवन की आमकां तुमी स्वतंत्र दियात, इंडियाय नाका आमकां, सो आमी एक वेगळो स्वतंत्र देश म्हणून रावया.
हांवें सांगिल्ले प्रमाणे 3 कारण्स आशिल्लीं ऑफ थॉट. एंड गोवा, पंडीत नेहरू सदां म्हणटालो की गोंयकारांक वेगळेपण आसा, आनी दॅट इज द कल्चर ऑफ गोवा वॉज डिफरंट फ्रॉम द रेस्ट ऑफ इंडिया. देर वर लार्ज कंपोनंट ऑफ क्रिस्टियन कल्चर. देर वॉज द पोर्चुगीज कल्चर मिक्स्ड अप बिकॉज 450 years लँग्वेज, लिटरेचर,
आमची अस्मिता
वेगळीच आशिल्ली, सामकी वेगळी आशिल्ली. सो नॅचरली देर वूड बी सम गोअन्स who say that amchi zamin, why should we be part of India? Why should we be part of Portugal? Hold a plebiscite and decide, let the Goans decide whom they want to be a part of. But let me tell you one thing, that was a minority. That was a minority. The freedom fighters had sacrificed long years in prison.
Exactly.
They had died for liberation.
Exactly.
How are you going to negate their role as against people who are armchair philosophers?
Exactly.
Who say that, you know,
and somewhat pro-Portugal म्हणपा आता.
you can say pro-Portugal because, but they were separate from Portugal. They were talking about not being part of
I know
Portugal.
that. पण ते मातशे अशे तरेचो घटक आशिल्लो. चडशे भाटकार, चडशे लोक in mining lobby.
Yes, you can say that people who are profiting from the Portuguese rule,
exactly.
they had a kind of a leaning
Yes.
towards, because finally it is about profit and loss.
Correct.
It is not about ideology, it is not about your love for your nationalism.
Correct.
The freedom fighters were definitely
nationalists.
They were nationalists, they suffered, they were ready to die.
आणि म्हाका जर आज जर आमी विचार केलो न्ही फाटल्यान बरेंच दिसता आमी इंडियाचो पार्ट जाला कारण आमकां वेगळी एक दृश्टी आयली आनी ह्या जर लोकांक जर वेगळो जर देश जाल्लो जाल्यार ठरावीक मायनोनर ठरावीक भाटकार ठरावीक पयशेकार हांच्या हातान गोंय उरपाचें आनी 10 लोक गोंय चलोवपाचें.
That is always there, no?
Yeah.
That the moneyed class, the elite class, they decide the future of any place.
Yes.
And now see, when you talk about Purushottam Kakodkar, Congress won only one seat.
Yes.
In post-liberation.
Correct.
And Congress, if they were the ones who worked so hard and all, it is a wonder that Goans didn't elect them and elected MGP.
Exactly.
With one seat in Daman, not even in Goa.
Yes. So this is something very interesting. अशे तरेचे खूब इतिहासाची पानां आसात जाचो आमी अभ्यास करपाक जाय. सुशीलाबाई तूं आमच्या स्टुडियोन आयल्यान तुवें अशी इतिहासाची पानां जी लिपून उरल्यांत सारके लोकां मुखार येवंक नात. कृष्णा मेनन किंवा नेहरूचो रोल किंवा ताजे उपरांत सालाजाराची प्रवृत्ती हाजो खरो हाजेर उजवाड पडपाची गरज आसा आनी चड अभ्यास जावपाची गरज आसा. आमी सदां म्हणटात ल्हान भुरगे किंवा तरूण लोकांच्या मुखार हो इतिहास बरे तरेन वचचो आनी विकृत जावन इतिहास वचचो न्ही. ते नजरेन ही खूब म्हत्वाची मुलाखत. हांव तुका धन्यवाद दिता.
थँक यू व्हेरी मच.
पळयत रावात गोमंतक टीव्ही.